I thought I knew my family until I discovered their shocking secrets. Growing up, I thought I knew my family like the back of my hand. We were close-knit, celebrating birthdays, going on vacations, and doing all the things you'd expect from a loving household. My parents, Daniel and Sarah, had been married for over 30 years. They seemed happy, rarely fought, and gave me and my siblings, Emma and Max, a stable upbringing. I was the middle child, the glue between Emma's ambition and Max's mischievousness. To me, we were a picture-perfect family. But one evening, everything changed. It started with Mom falling gravely ill. The doctors couldn't explain why her health declined so quickly. Treatments helped for a while, but deep down, we all knew time was running out. In her final days, she called each of us into her room to talk privately. When it was my turn, I sat by her bedside, her frail hand trembling in mine. "Oliver," she whispered, her voice weak but deliberate. "There's something I need to tell you. A secret I've kept for so long. I thought it was for the best, but now, I need you to know." My heart pounded as I tried to prepare myself for whatever she was about to say. "I'm not your biological mother." Her words hit me like a freight train. My mind struggled to process what she had just said. This woman who had raised me, loved me, and shaped me into the person I wasn't actually my mother? Seeing my stunned expression, she continued, her voice faltering. "Your birth mother was my sister, Lily. She was much younger than me, and she got pregnant unexpectedly. She wasn't ready to be a mother, and your father and I stepped in to give you the life she couldn't." I stared at her, my mind reeling. My mother wasn't my mother? My real mother was someone I'd never even known? "Where is Lily now?" I asked, my voice barely audible. Mom's expression darkened. "She disappeared not long after we adopted you. She had her struggles and wanted to start fresh somewhere else. We never heard from her again." Her words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken emotions. I couldn't be angry with her. She had given me a life of love and stability, but the revelation left me questioning everything. Who was Lily? Why had she abandoned me? Did she ever think of me? Mom passed away a few days later, taking so many unanswered questions with her, but I couldn't let it go. I needed to find Lily. I needed to know the truth. After weeks of searching, I finally tracked down an address linked to her in a small town 2 states away. Nervous but determined, I made the trip. The house was old and worn, with a garden that looked like it had once been cared for but was now overgrown. My hands shook as I knocked on the door. An older woman answered. Her face was tired, but her eyes were familiar. "Are you Lily?" I asked, my voice shaking. She stared at me, her expression shifting from confusion to recognition. "Oliver?" she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. We sat down and talked for hours. She told me about my birth, how she had fallen in love with a man who wasn't ready for a child, how he had abandoned her, and how she had felt utterly alone. My mom, Sarah, had stepped in and offered to adopt me, giving me the stability Lily couldn't. Tears streamed down her face as she spoke. "Leaving you was the hardest thing I've ever done. Not a day has gone by that I haven't thought about you." But her story didn't end there. She took a deep breath and said, "There's something else you should know. Your father. He wasn't just some guy who left. He was married at the time. He had a family. He didn't want you disrupting his life." She told me his name. My stomach dropped. It was a name I knew, a family friend, Uncle James, who had visited us often when I was a child. The man who had played with us, brought us gifts, and shared meals at our table, was my biological father. I left Lily's house in a daze, my mind racing. Back home, I wrestled with what to do. Should I confront Uncle James? Tell my siblings? In the end, I decided I needed answers. I invited James to meet for coffee, keeping my intentions hidden. When we sat down, I looked him in the eyes and asked, "Why didn't you ever tell me?" His face went pale. He didn't deny it. Instead, he confessed, his voice thick with regret. "I thought I was doing the right thing. I didn't want to hurt Sarah or disrupt the life she gave you. I thought you were better off without me." His words stung, but I could see the guilt etched into his face. He admitted that he had always wanted to be in my life, but fear had kept him from stepping forward. I left that meeting feeling a strange mix of peace and sadness. The truth was painful, but it also brought clarity. My family wasn't what I thought it was, but the love I had received was real. I decided not to tell my siblings. They didn't need the burden of these secrets.